I'll go right into it.
I think you can start.
Okay. All right. So we're going to continue from where we stopped yesterday. We're going to continue just a bit of a recap of what we did yesterday. We introduced what statistics is, and we discussed different types of statistics, and we also make mention of uh, the different uh, data that you can collect, and we also mentioned how important it is to choose a good data. Then we also categorize variables into uh, descriptive, non-descriptive. Then when you now have a qualitative, quantitative, and under the quantitative, we have the discrete and the the discrete and the continuous, which is also referred to as the interval and the ratio. Then we also make mention of uh, qualitative, where we said it could be, which is also referred to as categorical, which could be nominal or ordinal. So today we are going to, I will share my screen and we're going to look at how to actually collect this data. How do we get to collect uh, this data? We've mentioned of make mentioned of the different uh, type of data we have and all of that. So we want to look at data collecting sampling method rather. How do we sample? How do we use these techniques to collect want to look at? So we make mention that uh, data is actually the heart of statistics because without data there is no statistics. So, and for you to be able to collect a good data or to do a good analysis, you have to equally collect a very, very important good data. And those data we said, because you cannot collect data from the whole population, you sample the population, then those sample have to be very representative of the population so that you can make inference from them. So um, we want to look at now sampling method. So because when we talk about sampling method, we're talking about the um, the method that can be used to collect data. So, and for you to be able to collect good data, you have to adopt a good sampling method. So now, when we before we talk about the sampling method, I want us to look at what sampling sample size is. So sample size usually is the number of individuals and you can include in your sample depending on the various factors. And these various factors include the size, the variability of the population, and your research design. So it therefore means that there are factors that usually that define your sample size. We look at the size of your population, we look at the variability of the population, then we look at your research design. So there are usually different sample size calculators and formulas that are available, which we are not going to be going into. But what we want to look at basically is sampling method. Now you've been able to identify a population. How do you go about sampling those population to make sure that the sample that you will end up with are representative of those of the population? So we have basically two methods that can be used to that you can use to sample a population. The first method is the probability sampling methods. So, and when we talk about probability sampling method, for the little of understanding we have in mathematics and the rest, when we say probability, we are talking about the chance, so of something occurring or not occurring. So, probability
Sorry.
sampling.
How are
Okay,
you?
hello.
I can hear you.
Okay, so I was
How are
talking
you?
about.
I'm welcome. I
Um,
ate my food
sorry,
from where we're from.
please, can you
Please,
mute your
just
mic? Can you mute your mic, please? All right. So, um, I was talking about a probability sampling method. That probability sampling method have to do with the method that every member of the population have chance of being selected from the word probability. You know, I said a probability from our elementary mathematics mean the probability or the chance rather. We can't use the probability since we are talking about probability. So it's the chance of something occurring or not occurring. So when we say probability sampling, we are simply saying that the it means the chance of every member of a population being selected. That's the opportunity for every member of that population be selected is there. So it mainly used in quantitative research. So I want you to get that, we make at the course of the introduction, I whether is this class or probably the one I had in earlier with the other persons, I made mention that we could have basically we have two methods of research. It could be a qualitative research, it could be a quantitative research, or it could be a mixed method. Then a mixed method means you are applying both qualitative and quantitative. But for you to use a probability sampling method, you have to be doing quantitative research. So if you want to produce results that are representative of the whole population, so probability sampling technique are the most valid choice. So it therefore means that we during yesterday when we were talking about population and sampling and sample, I keep mentioning that um, the there is need for you to have a representative sample of a population. The reason being that for you to be able to make an informed and unbiased decision or inference to the population when you are finally making inference from the uh, outcome of the results you got from the sample. Then if it's not representative, it therefore means that you're not going to have um, a very good um, outcome or a very good representative of the population. So you'll be making uh, either type 1 error or type 2 error. So there are some few things that I will need you guys to really read up. And I've make mention of quantitative research now, make mention of qualitative research, I've make mention of biased and in hypothesis testing, then you either be making a type 1 error or a type 2 error. So we want you guys to look up those different methods, either being type 1 or type 2. So what type 1 error is and what type 2 error is and what is qualitative and what is quantitative research. So then we move to before we start looking at the different subgroups that are in this different category, the next one is non-probability sampling methods. So from the word non-probability, it means that a non-probability sampling, individuals are selected based on non-random criteria, and not every individual has chance of being selected. So from the word non-probability, it means that the chance of every member of that population be represented is not really there. So it means that it's prone to high level of bias. So if you are using non-probability sampling method, you are prone to committing bias in your outcome of your research because you simply going to be using what is available and not what is needed. So that is also very, very important. Now, then another thing that about non probability sampling is that this type of, okay, I've mentioned that is it has higher rates of sampling bias rather. Then the next one is that the inference that you're going to draw, because the sampling is biased, automatically the inference you're going to be drawing will also be biased. So you cannot generalize the outcome that the outcome of that of your findings in that research to the general population because of the high level of bias that the sampling method was prone to. So non-probability sampling techniques are often used in that is exploratory and also qualitative research. So basically in exploratory research, something that you have to explore, you basically what you do there is you are not concerned about sample size is not sample collection method is usually not a case majorly, so it's allowed for you to use that. So in this type of research, the aim is not to test an hypothesis. It's also very important. So if you are doing a research where you are not planning to test an hypothesis, you can go ahead and use non-probability sampling method. But if your aim is to test an hypothesis, then you cannot use non-probability sampling technique because you'll be subjecting the research to a very high level of bias. So about that. So I want us now, we're going to be looking at each of these different subgroup. So I'll go to the first part, which is the uh, random sampling. So I want us to look at this. This is just kind of representation. We see for the this is actually the let me take this back. This is the probability sampling method. So under this probability sampling method, we have about I think there are more than four, but basically we'll just look at four here. We look at sample random sampling. So when we say simple random sampling, it simply means every member of the population have an equal chance of being selected. Your sampling frame should include the whole population. So in this case, the whole population, every individual of their population have have a chance of being selected. Now, to conduct this type of sampling, there are certain things that you have to put in perspective. So one of the first thing you have to do is to use uh, tools that are able to generate random numbers. So you have a random number generator or other techniques that are based entirely on chance. So it means that if you look at this particular population now, you can see that let's say the first number that was generated was 1, then the next one was 4, the next one was 8, the next one was 7, the next one was 9, just in that case. So if let's use assuming that we have you want to select a simple random of sample of let's say um 10 students from a population of 1,000 students. So you assign a number to every student. So what you now do, that is based on the database of that of the school. Then you now use a random number generator to select the 10th student. So what we are saying, just like was this thing, what did they call it? This this lucky winner be what they, that you will squeeze one number, you will put it in, they will roll it, then the person will dip and are you guys hearing me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. I think you're talking about this lottery stuff, right?
Yes, yeah, kind of a rotary, yes. So you select let me be sure that this lady is still with us.
I'm here.
Uh,
I can hear
Yeah.
you.
okay, she's here. Oh, okay. I wanted to be sure.
I'm listening.
So I was saying that for for simple random sampling, I was using a school, for example, a let's say a school of 1,000 students. Then you want to collect a sample size of 100, for example. Then what you do is that you assign number to all the students. Let's say the student, all of them were 1,000 in that school. Then you assign a number to each of those students. Then after you've done that, probably you may ask the student to write their numbers, the number that were given to them, write them and put it, let's say, in a basket or something like that. So you miss the one I was talking about, the rotary or what they call it. Then you roll it. Then someone will dip and pick a number. So you just pick until you get to the 100 that you want to pick. No, everybody in that population have equal chance of being chosen. So that is what simple random sampling is all about. Then when we move to systematic sampling, now when you say systematic, it means that systematic sampling is similar to simple random sampling, but in this case, it's usually easier to what to conduct. The reason why it's easier to conduct is because every member of the population is listed with a number. But instead of randomly selecting this number, individuals are chosen at regular interval. Now, probably even before assigning number to those the 1,000 students that I mentioned, then you tell them that okay, um, after the first person that you will take, that then is going to be based on every other two. After two person, then you pick the next person. So what we are saying here is that you leave out this first person, then uh, you pick the next person. Then after this first one that you picked, then every other one is going to be after two persons. You can see after two person, the next person was picked. After two person, next person was picked. After two person, the next person was picked. After two person, the next person was picked. So basically, you can actually have a kind of a formula to do that. Now, example is just like the one that the student I mentioned earlier. Let's say after you've given them uh, numbers, then you now randomly select a starting point. So you have to randomly, that was the starting point I was talking about. You have to randomly select a starting point because you cannot determine where you are going to start. You have to randomly start, then you now start applying the interval that you have assigned to those to them. So that is that. I don't know if that is clear enough. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Then the next one is stratified sampling. When you say something is stratified, we are saying that stratified sampling involves you divide the population into subpopulations that may differ in important ways. This allow you to draw. This will actually allow you to draw um, certain conclusions that is firm by ensuring that every subgroup within that population is represented. I think I make mention of this during when I was explaining HIV survey program that took place in 2018. So what happened there? We're talking about stratified now. You know, we have as a nation, Nigeria, we have 36 different federating units plus the FCT, making it 37. So after the sample size was calculated, then each of those states have to become a strata. So within even the state, we have local government as another strata. Then within this local government, we have the wards at another strata, just in that format. So what you now do is that you use the sampling method, you divide the population into subgroup called strata based on the relevant characteristics. It could be based on age, it could be based on gender, could be based on age range, income bracket, or job role, as the case may be, or just the one I explained. Could be state of origin, could be a local government of origin, could be ward, and all of that. So that could be what you are using to actually um, divine that. Then after you've done that, then you use random sampling on each group. I don't know if you are getting that now. So it means that within stratified sampling, you yet still use apply random sampling. So it means that even in systematic sampling and in stratified sampling, you yet employ a simple random sampling. For the case of systematic, you randomly have to choose where you start. Then, but for the case of stratified sampling, you have to choose um, after you have divided your group into subgroup, which are referred to as strata. Then within those strata, you have to randomly select those people within the population that you need to study. Then the last one is cluster cluster sampling, from the word clustering. Um, you know, when you say something is in a cluster, you are simply saying that they are in different group. So cluster sampling involves dividing the population into subgroup, but each subgroup should have similar characteristics to the whole population. I don't know if you are getting that. You can see like here now, it should have similar population. You can see for example here we can see this have blue, then this green like, then like that. So these are different clusters. So in this case, instead of sampling individual from each subgroup, you randomly now select entire subgroup. So that's what you do. You now randomly, after the what's it called? You have already create your clusters. Then you randomly select each of the clusters or the subgroup, as the case may be. So it is practically possible. If this is actually practically possible, you might include every individual from each sample cluster. That is if it's possible. So, but if it's not possible, then you can also simply also sample individual from within each cluster using one of the other method that we have described earlier, like the stratified or um, systematic or simple random method. Now, for me to explain this further, I want to use this example. Let's say a company, for example, have 10 cities around the country, all within roughly the same number of employees in each row. So we are saying that, okay, let's say a school have have a group of school have the 10 group 10 schools within a country, and within each of these school they have the same number of pupils, the same let's say the same gender and all the likes. So you do not have the capacity to travel to every to, for example, you may not have ability to move to every of those schools to collect your data. So what you do, you randomly select 3 of those schools, then and use them as your cluster in this case. Any question?
No, I'm good.
Any question?
Nope. I'm good. I'm okay. I follow.
Okay, okay, all right. Please, can you that one, can you mute your mic, please? Okay. And Joy, is there any question?
I don't think she's still around.
Oh, okay. She's here. Joy, is there any question? Is there any question? Yeah, is there any question?
No.
Oh, is there any question?
No question. No
Please,
question, sir.
mute your mic, please. So, okay. So I will move swiftly to the next um, uh, methods. So here we have several examples too for the sorry for the non what's it called, for the non probability sampling.
Okay.
So basically, for we've already defined that for the non probability sampling, the chance of every individual being selected within the population is not there. That is already out of it. But even in still that we have different what's it called, different types too. The first one is the convenience convenience sampling method. From the word convenience, it means something that is convenient for you.
Mm.
So even, you know, I've been opportune to see some theses that were written by some people. When they will ask them during the maybe the external examiner will ask them what method did you use, you will hear I think the most damaging answer that anybody can give in that instant is I use convenience method. Once you say you use convenience method, no matter how good your result was, you have discredited that outcome, because it simply means that you just conveniently collect your data, even with those that are qualified for the study and those that are not qualified, you just repeated them. But that be as it may, there are some instances that you may not be able to avoid convenience sampling. For example, I don't know if you have been following the news, this issue of Taliban taking over
And Afghanistan.
Afghan, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Now, yeah. Now, if you want to, we've established that this kind of study is actually meant basically for qualitative kind of research, not quantitative. So,
Okay.
assuming now you want to sample um, people, opinion of people who have the Afghan citizens, because of the precarious situation they are presently in Pakistan, you may not be able to, not Pakistan, Afghanistan rather, you may not be able to travel there. So what you may be able to do is to go to, for example, US government has been able to lift quite some number of Pakistan, Afghan citizens, those that have worked with them. Now, you may want to interview them, do a study on Afghanistan. You can't go there because of that. So you may just look for those that have just come back. The best would have been that you actually go there and do your study. I don't know if you are following me.
Yes, yeah.
Hello? Yeah. That would have been the
Yes, yeah.
best thing, yeah, the best thing to have happened for you to go to Afghanistan, meet the people on the ground, the normal people on the street, and conduct your research. Let me even I'm even going too far. Let's use Nigeria, for example, the Borno State or Yobe State or Adamawa, where Boko Haram insurgents is high. Now you want to do a study on why people are migrating or why people are leaving Maiduguri. The best would have been you go there, you conduct interviews on people there. Probably maybe there's a particular local government where a whole lot of people have left. Best would have been you go to that local government, you ask people why are they leaving. But going there is like going for a suicide mission because of the insecurity in that vicinity. So the best for you to do is to look for people who has left that place, probably stay in one IDP camp. Then you now interview them to check. So that is convenience. You actually,
Okay.
yes, that's convenience. Or for a more proper way, I said a convenience sampling include the individual who happen to be most accessible to the researcher. I think that settles it. The people that are approachable, that are accessible, that you can access, you simply go after them and study them or use them for the study. They make up your population. Now, this is very easy and also is quite not expensive. Unlike, for example, when you have to go to Borno State, probably have to pay for hotel, probably have to pay for security, probably have to go there with an ammo tank and all of that. But you can just simply go to an IDP can probably buy one Indomie, what they call a pack of Indomie and all of that, and they will be ready to speak to you. So you can see that it's easy, inexpensive way to gather initial is actually this is usually best when you want to collect initial data. For example, you want to do a study. For you to just do a pilot study, you may not want to. You just collect use people that are within your reach to establish a premise upon which you are going to build on. But there is no way for you to actually tell. The only issue with this is that you can't tell if they are representative of the population because you only use those that are accessible to you. So it can usually produce a biased outcome, and also you cannot generalize the outcome to the whole population. So then the next one is voluntary response sampling. Now, when you say something is voluntary, meaning that uh, I want you to look at this arrow. You can look at this arrow now. This arrow, you can see that it was this researcher that came to meet these different individuals. But under the voluntary response sampling, you can see that is um, the subject that is going to study that
To
actually
meet the
voluntary
researcher.
response way to actually do it for during yes, yeah, during COVID, this was actually one of the most access because of the lockdown. For example, a whole lot of people that were doing research were doing research based on questionnaires. And those questionnaires most times were sent online. Most of them were just a link. They will send it to
To
you.
feel
It's voluntary. You can either respond or you
or
don't
not.
respond. So that is actually, or I may not really be able to use that to uh, explain this fully, because in this case we can yet use it. The researcher only just announce, okay, there's this study that I want to do. Those that are interested simply fill this so and so questionnaire or simply come and meet me. So it's voluntary. So similar to the convenient is also very easy and mainly based on ease of access. Instead of researcher choosing participant, in this case, it's actually the participant that are actually responding by themselves. So one of them, just like I said, is actually when you respond to a public online survey, that is voluntary. It's voluntary response sampling. Then the next one is that is a
Purpose.
purposive sampling. Yeah, sampling. So when from the word purposive sampling is also referred to as judge judgment sampling. It's based on the judgment of or the judgment acumen of the researcher. So what this means is that the researcher actually decide who he include on his study using his own expert um, opinion. Now, where this is usually very, very important is for people who actually do a whole lot of qualitative research, for example, interviews, conduct focus discussion, conduct in-depth interview, conduct one-on-one interaction, and all of that. For example, let's use channels television. Channels television, we know, for example, when they are talking about security, for example, they will have to look for someone they think in their judgment that the person is an expert in that area to bring the person to actually to come and discuss the issue of security. So that is actually kind of judgmental sampling. You only bring the person because you felt that the person is actually an expert in that area. So basically, this is actually used more in the aspect of qualitative research, where the researcher want to gain detailed knowledge about specific phenomenon or subject. So in this kind of study, you are not making any statistical influence. Are you with me? So you only just
Yes.
interview them to gain, or for example, now you are talking about AMR, antimicrobial resistance. So the best person to actually call to come and speak about that is someone that did medical microbiology, or someone that is an expert, a pharmacist who is also who specializes in medical microbiology as postgraduate level and all of that will be the best person for you to actually discuss with in when you are talking about antimicrobial resistance. But when you are talking about nutrition, the best person that you are supposed to talk to is a dietitian or a nutritionist. Just in that regard. For example, during COVID, when they want to talk about issue of diagnostics, you see that the most people that they were bringing up were medical lab scientists, people, pathologists, people that have knowledge of what diagnostic is all about. But when they want to talk about treatment, they bring a physician, they bring talk about drug interaction, they bring a pharmacist. So based on that area. Then the next one is actually showball. Then when we say showball, this is actually snowball sampling. Has to do with if the population is hard to access. So what snowball sampling try to do is to actually recruit participants via other participants. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, I may not be able to go to Borno State, but you know that I can also yet decide to do that study in Borno State. So what I do is to look at people that are in Borno who I feel they are experts also in my area. Then I will recruit them as my whole sample. Then what they will do, they will now recruit the people at the grassroots. I don't know if you are getting that at all.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how, because I
Sorry,
cannot
I
go there.
had
Then
I had an intermittent network problem. If you can continue, start from snowball.
Hello?
Yeah, I said I had an intermittent network problem. I didn't really catch the snowball
Okay.
explanation.
Okay. So I was saying that snowball sampling technique has to do with because you cannot access the place. I will use Afghanistan. I use Borno
Born.
State as an example. I want to do a research, for example, a study, a field study, not a laboratory based study, a survey in Borno State, for example, maybe on a particular aspect or a phenomena. But I cannot go to Borno State because of security challenge that is there. But I have a friend who probably also is knowledgeable. Uh, I feel that he know the terrain, he knows things, he know the geographical area of Borno. Then I can decide to actually recruit a person. Are you following me? I can decide to
Yes.
recruit that person into the study, into my study. Then that person will now be the person to go to the field to go and interview those people, then or to interact with those people at the grassroots. Then I will now interview him based on the information he gets from them. Then I will get it from you. Can see that there is like two level kind of stages. I recruit him, he recruit others, then he get information from others, then I get the information from him. So the danger here is actually that um the I may not really be able to get the whole true picture because if he is biased, automatically we transfer his own
Mm.
bias back directly to me, to my to the outcome he is going to show to me. Now, for us to understand this, let me use a more for example, you want to actually research, let's say, experiences of let's say because of the destruction of buildings, houses in Borno State, for example, research the experiences of homelessness in that city. So what you can do, since there is no list of all homeless people, sampling is not going to be possible because you don't even know who is homeless and who is not. So except you go to IDP camp. Then what you need to do is you now meet one person who agreed to participate in the research. And because this person agree and he had contact of people who are homeless, so through her, you will now what through her since she have contact of other people who are actually homeless in that city, then the person will know the area better than you do. Then through the person you'll be able to actually access those people. I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, it is.
Is it clear?
Yes, it is clear.
Okay. What about that? Why you're the one that asked? Hello.
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Okay. So basically, just look at the methods that you can use to actually conduct that you can use to collect your data. The first one is experiment. For those of us that are in science, you have to go to the laboratory, you have to do a whole lot of study and all of that experiment. Then the next one is survey. Data are obtained by sampling some of the population of interest. Then the investigator does not modify the environment. So if you are going to be conducting an experiment, meaning that you are going to be introducing an intervention, and that intervention could be drug, it could be modification of the environment, like we saw regarding the plants we mentioned the other time. You apply fertilizer, those are experiments. You're actually introducing intervention. But if it's just that you just go there, you collect blood, it's a survey. You are not introducing, you are not subjecting the person to any kind of, you are not introducing any type of intervention. Basically, for experiment kind of study are usually the study that are involved in clinical trials. And when I say clinical trials, it's not just only about drug. For example, a machine you have to uh, uh,
Hello.
okay.
Hello.
Better try general.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I'm with you. Be like our host don't dodge.
That's how I'm saying it. That was what even happened yesterday. By 9 o'clock, I didn't even hear you.
So I don't know. Is it that the session can only last for 1 hour, or he's having network issues?
I actually asked him. He said it's 1 hour, but then it's not even up to an hour now because we don't even start exactly it.
Yeah. Let's follow him up on the WhatsApp group and yeah.
It okay, okay, better. You can drop a message there. I'm going offline from here. Let's see if it will second. Hello.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think it is because I don't even think it's online now on WhatsApp. I don't know.
Okay, so we should just we can leave the studio then and wait for the balance of the lectures.
Yes, yes, I think so.
All right then. So see you in the next class.
Okay, thank you.
Should I say hear you since I'm not actually saying you? So hear you in the next
I'll
class.
be in the next class.
Yeah,
No
all right then.
problem. Thank
Yeah,
you.
good.
Lisa.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So sorry. I didn't know that I've been logged out like probably like 3 minutes ago. So
Yes,
I
and
don't know which.
this other guy has gone now.
Yeah, please, can you just remind me where the network left?
We're trying to, as in that other, is it qualitative or you were trying to, it's still on that, what's
Survey.
that? That you were, yeah, that you're trying to explain, yes, survey and experiment, and that was where we
Okay,
ended.
okay. Let me just. Okay, I'm going to just share my screen. It was just the concluding aspect, actually.
Okay, then you can just share the slides now on the platform.
Yes, I will, certainly, I will.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this is where I was.
Yes.
Yes. So I spoke quite a lot about experiment survey. Then I make mention that census is actually a cumulative survey of every individual in a population. So just like you remember when a country tell you that you want to do census, it's telling you want to count everybody in that population. So survey is usually a sample population. Kind of you cannot study the whole population, then you do a survey within a population. But when you
Mm.
are studying the whole population, it's no longer survey, it's actually a census.
Census.
I don't know if that is, yeah. So then I was the last place where I ended the class was when I was talking about statistics and technology. So I make
Mm.
mention that there are quite a whole lot of technologies that are now in place. So, and some of them are SPSS and Excel. We have Arrow, we have Python, we have MATLAB, we have Stata, we have SAS, we have Graph Prism, we have NCSS. In fact, it's actually endless. They are
Mm.
endless. So the list is endless. But as a matter of advice, I usually tell whoever that want to start data analysis or data science, it's good you start with SPSS and Excel. So once
Okay.
you have master those two, it will help you in the other ones.
Mm.
Reason be that uh, I think for me, uh, for Arrow, for example, what I enjoy best in Arrow is when you have quite a large database. Let's say you are
Okay.
talking about, you are looking at Google Analytics, for example. You want to look at the analytics of big companies like Facebook, Google. You want to check you want to look, you cannot use SPSS and Excel to actually check those kind of
Achieve that.
analytics because of a whole lot, yes, because of the volume. So the best is to use R, but you have
Oh,
to first and foremost understand using knowing
SPSS.
SPA, because it's the same variable you are going to be doing and all of that. But what make arrow robust is because, for example, if you just read in your data, a whole lot of data cleaning is not really so much required. You can easily sort your data. You can easily write a program and it will go into the data wherever it is and bring out that information. But SPSS, you have to clean your data and make it analyzable. So that's actually one of the. Then another very wonderful thing about Arrow or Python, as the case may be, is because of the graphic, because of the data visualization. If there is anything that I loved about Arrow, Python, and all other softwares, is because of their data visualization. In fact, you can't take it from them when it comes to visualizing data.
Okay.
One thing you visualizing one thing that give beauty about your study is when you are presenting your data, you are using pictures to tell your story.
Okay.
So if that is what you want to do, the best place to do that is usually in R or Python. You are able to
Okay.
use graphics to actually tell your story using that. You can also, to some extent, you can use Excel. Also have a whole lot of built-in plugins that you can use, but you can't compare Excel and Arrow. Arrow is still the software for data science, as the case may be. But you can't just jump into Arrow if you don't have understanding of SPSS and Excel. So that is where we'll end the class for today. So
Okay. I
I
wanted to
will.
ask. Or I
Okay,
want to ask.
go on, go on.
This package we're doing now is just
Okay,
SPSS, right?
yeah, basically yes,
Okay.
yes.
Then if someone wants to go further to, you have to register for any this thing they are
Those,
offering those other.
but one thing that I will advise you is that I will also give you a trick. I only spent money to learn SPSS. After then, Arrow, Python, and all of that, I learned them on my own. So that's why I will seek your indulgence to make sure that you take this class very serious. If you are able to finish this class seriously, there are some sites I'm going to give to you. If you are very meticulous, you will learn your Arrow, you will learn your Python without paying a dime to anybody. Yes, we can always be there to guide, or you may not need to pay money to anybody to learn that. But if you don't know the basis of data science or data analysis, if you go there, whatever they are doing will look like storytelling. And you know that is program basically the right programs. So which is something that needs consistent practicing and the rest. So once you are able to learn it and you are proficient in this, every other one is it will be a walkover. You even have interest, you want to learn, you begin to see good results coming out, then you want to. Usually me, I will always advise, at least for me, what me I'm really, at least I learned a bit of each of those software, but basically these three major ones, the major software that I'm always using is SPSS, Excel, then R. So those are my 3 years. I was at a point I was trying to also learn Python, but I think that it's not really going where I want to. So I just focus on those three. But you may not, depending on your goal too, is what determines what you learn. For example, if it's data purely just data science you want to learn, the best is SPSS, Excel, R. Then you may some people may say you should use Stata, which you can also. Stata is also almost like SPSS. It's just that even for SPSS, there's also a place where you can also do programming, where you can write programs. So the same with Stata. So once you learn SPSS and Excel, then the best is either you add Python or Arrow to it. So which is good to go, because if you're going to build a career in data science, it's very important that you can't do without having to learn one of at least one programming language or programming software, either Arrow or Python, as the case may be. But Python is very robust because you can do a whole lot of other things with Python, not just only data science. Data science is just a chunk of what Python can do. Unlike Arrow, Arrow is actually the software of data science. So everything about data analysis is actually inbuilt in R. Then there is a new software now that has also been launched by Google. It's called Google Analytics. It's actually like Google is usually competing with anything that want to compete with her market, so to say. Because of the Arrow and Python, they are open source. When I mean open source, you don't have to pay for it. They are open, you can download it, and when there's an upgrade, you can easily also upgrade. Then they too, because they know that people are no longer using, then they went to bring Google Analytics. So that is actually a newcomer in the market. Some people are also using just almost similar to Power BI. I don't know if you know Power BI. That is a Power Business Intelligence BI. So for those that are in business sector to make to look at insights into their business analytics, they usually use Power BI. So that Google then brought out their own Google Analytics to compete with that. So basically, so any other question?
Nope.
Okay. So I'll send this PowerPoint across. Then I will expect you guys to I will expect you guys to download the software that I've sent to you. Then we'll meet most likely on Saturday or Sunday. Then I will let you guys know, but we won't be meeting tomorrow. So I will send the
Oh,
software. Then I'll also drop the textbook again so that this Dudu Dawa can download the textbook too with the PowerPoint so that you can read. Then there are questions, then you can bring them up in our next class. So in our
oh,
next class, we are going to be looking at the next thing we're going to be looking at how to choose statistical tests, and also uh, normality testing. So those are the two things we are going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at normality testing, then we'll look at how to choose statistical tests. So basically, that will
mm,
be in the next class. Then after that, then we'll go straight to the software itself.
okay. I wanted to ask
So thank
the
you for.
software,
All right, go on.
can it be
Yes.
downloaded in a phone or it must be in a system?
No, you have to download. You can download it on the phone, then you transfer. But it's actually a bit large. It's about 200 or something
Transfer
MB.
to the system.
Um, mm, But what I would advise, if you can copy the link, you put it in
Okay.
a Word document,
Uh,
then you just copy it and paste it on the Word document. Then you copy that to your system. Then you click on the link. Then it will take it to where you download it. It's actually on my
okay.
Google. It's on my
Okay.
Google Drive. It's something. I'm actually, in fact, what you guys even pay for the class, the software already that I'm giving you for free. I've already covered it.
Thank you.
So it's enjoyment you are enjoying.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. All right. So see you guys
Thank you.
probably next tomorrow or Sunday. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah. Thank you. See you.